Good morning developers. In this video what we are going to do is that we are going to create a grappling hook, or you can say that a grappling gun. We are not going to create this sort of 3D, and before you say anything, I have took this footage from some other YouTube channel so that it's gonna look cool. But the thing is that we are going to be creating a 2D variant, and if you want to create this type of hook, then this type of 3D one, that I'm going to share a link down below and go and watch that video. The reason for why I am creating this tutorial is that I was making a game and I decided to add a swinging rope, and to be honest, I have never created anything like a rope effect or a rope in Unity. So as other developers do, I looked upon the internet, YouTube, and watched a ton of videos, and after wasting my entire day, I was able to learn what I'm going to teach you in 5 minutes. The concept was simple, but I don't know why people have to stretch it anyways. Back to the topic. So in order to create this, what we have to do is that we have to create a grappling gun. For the grappling gun, we need to create a rigid body, a spring joint 2D. We need a line renderer, and we need to create a line like this one. You can see that in this video here. And we need a script that is going to be our main engine behind all of the action that you are going to be performing, like grabbing and not grabbing and moving forward and backward. So without wasting any time, let's start. So in order to get started, what we need here is that we need first of all a 2D object, and I'm going to create a sprite here, and I'm going to name it as our player here because this is the object on which we are going to be swinging like this. And we need to create some sort of box here, so I'm going to import the thing that I've created. It's called a piano. Sorry, this is basically a block of white. You can see that it's a white single sheet here, so I'm going to put it here. So because why I'm using this one here, this particular thing is here because it's very sharp looking and it's very good when you are creating some box like that. You can create this in the paint. So I'm going to place it somewhere over here. The other thing that I'm going to create another 2D object. I'm going to name it as, let's say, name it as a block, and put it over somewhere here, and I'm going to drag and drop that same thing and scale it to something like 0.4 and 0.4 here, and I'm going to move it in the, so it's very big, so I'm going to scale it 0.2, and 0.2 will be fine. Yeah, so this is our basic setup that we have done. So other thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a C# script, and I'm going to name it as a grappling hook because this thing is the main engine behind, as I've told you earlier, behind all of the grappling that is going to be done here. So let's double click and open up in the Visual Studio. It's going to take some time, but okay. So yes, so the thing is that what we need here, so before starting we need to organize ourselves. What we need a spring joint 2D. Spring, basically what spring does is that it connects two things here, like so before moving, I'm going to create a rigid body in the player here, and let's create a rigid body 2D here. And also I'm going to create a sprite, why I'm saying sprite, I'm going to create a spring joint 2D here. So now the spring joint 2D here, what it does is that it connects to something. So whenever we are, like now it is connected to the camera here, and you can see that when this spring is connected to something, it's not like, it's like springing effect because it's a spring. Yeah, so you can you can go this, and you can do this, you can do certain kind of things. So the other thing that we need while grappling is the springing effect. So we need to create a spring that is going to be like we are using the mouse. So whenever we click on certain objects and that object is clickable, or that object can be stick to the spring can be stick to this object here. So we are going to start the spring from here. The other end should be over here. So I'm going to remove it from here because we don't need it here. We will add it in the script here because I like adding all of these things from the script. So I'm going to remove this start function here. So first of all, let's add the things. We need a private spring joint 2D, and we are going to name it as a grappling hook, not this one, yeah, hook. And what we need is the public LineRenderer. So what LineRenderer does is that, let me first create it, and then I'm going to tell you. Creator, this is going to create a line, and before moving forward, I'm going to create a line renderer, and I'm going to set the values to something like very minimum here, because 1.0 is a very big length or very wide length. We don't want that to happen. And we are going, yeah, so the thing is that why this error is coming up is that because we have same name as of the script, we cannot do that. So I'm going to change it to something like 2 here, so that this error is going to be removed. And this is pretty much it that we can do in right now. So the next thing that we are going to do is that we are going to create a public layer mask. So this layer mask is generally for the thing that you can be using for which layer you are going for. Like you can simply assign a layer to this block here, and then you can use that layer for a reference of clicking on certain object. But right now we don't need a layer mask, I guess, because we will be using a Raycast, a 2D Raycast. So the other thing that I'm going to need a private vector 3, and I'm going to name it as a grapple point. This will be the point, the target point on which the other end of our spring joint will be attached. And the last thing that I'm going to do is that public transform player. So what is going to happen in this here, we are going to be storing the position of our main player in this transform here. So before writing the code in the update function, I'm going to use a void awake function, so that in this we are going to write our get component, like what we need to get and what we need to create. So in the awake function, I'm going to create a line renderer, line creator is equal to get component, and the component will be the line renderer. The other thing that I'm going to do is that we need to create a grappling we need to create a spring joint. So for this I'm going to do this kind of thing, transform dot game game object dot add component, and in the add component I'm going to add a spring joint 2D. And after that, this spring joint is created here. We are not going to enable it at this point of code at this time, at starting time. We are going to enable it whenever we are going to press the mouse button, like left button or the right button. So for that, what I'm going to do is that grappling hook dot enabled is equal to false, so that at the start it should be false. In the update function, what we are going to do is that we need to create two functions, the start grapple and the stop grapple. So when it's going to be start grappling is that whenever we are going to be pressing the mouse button, input dot get mouse button down. The button that we need here is basically 0, because it is the left click. 0 is for the left click and 1 is for the right click. If input dot get mouse button up, whenever we release the mouse button, it's going to be stop grappling. So in this function over here, we are going to call this, in this if statement, we are going to call this stop grapple function that I have not created yet, but I will be creating after this, writing these down. Sorry, not the stop one here, the start one here. And in this I'm going to stop the grapple here. The grapple is basically this is the stop and start grapple will be our main body that will be used whenever we are grappling to some sort of object. Now I think this is basically the update part that we have done. Now let's get on with the start grapple. So start grapple basically is the function in which we are going to be performing all of our activities, like attaching a spring joint to it, creating a line to it. But line creation, I think line creation would be done in a separate function, and I will create that separate function naming as the draw function. So right now I'm going to create the stop grapple as well. And in the start grapple, what we need, first of all, we need a vector 3, and I'm going to name it as P1. Let me tell you, just wait a second, I'm going to tell you what this is. In this P1 I'm going to store a player position and a vector 3 P2. In the P2 I'm going to store our mouse position here. So I'm going to store the mouse position camera dot main dot screen to world, not the viewport, screen to world point, and in this I'm going to say that input dot mouse position. So for those of who you do not realize what this is or understand what this is, let me tell you. Basically, now our mouse is in this screen here, but we need to access, we need to convert this whole screen into this screen here. Then we need to access this mouse position. But right now, when we take the value without using this camera.main.screen to world point and remove this and only write input.mouse position, then the value will be like, you know, laggy, or it will not be in the real world. It will be like it is outside this screen. But whenever we use this, it converts this whole screen into the game screen. So that's why we are using this camera.main.screen to world point. So it uses our mouse position in as a perspective to this game screen, not this whole screen. So why are we using these two positions here? Because we need to create a raycast. What is a raycast? Basically, raycast is an element, or raycast is like a, you know, beam of light that start from a certain element and goes through it start and it go in a certain direction. So we need that certain direction. What direction we need is the direction of this mouse here. Like if the mouse is here, the beam would be starting from here and going there. If the mouse position is here, the beam will be starting from here and going there. So let's create the raycast, and I'm going to name it as a raycast hit 2D, and I'm going to name it as a hit is equal to physics 2D, where is it, 2D dot linecast. In the linecast, we will add these 2 points, P1 and P2. So this is basically the part where the line where our raycast will be started. Now we are going to create a if function here. I'm going to say that hit dot collider dot tag is equal to, let's say that, hook. Then we will perform certain functions. So before moving further, I'm going to create a box collider to this block here, box collider, and I'm going to name it, I'm going to create a tag called as a hook, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to book it to tag like this, and I'm going to put a D, or I will just write the code. So the next thing that we need to do is that we need to create a grapple point, and the grapple point is basically the point on which our spring other end should be attached. The first end is on this current object and the other end should be on this object here. So we need that position, the other end position. So for that we are going to say that where is the grapple point? I think yeah, it was a grapple, grapple point is equal to hit dot transform dot position. So basically whatever value is in this hit here, we are going to catch the position from this hit here and pass it to this grapple point, which is a vector 3. The other thing that we need to do is that we need to enable our this spring joint as we have disabled it here. So I'm going to say that grappling hook 2 is equal to dot enabled is equal to true. Now it is enabled. Now the other thing we need to do is the attaching part. Now how we can attach is that grappling hook dot how you can attach is that dot connected anchor, and in the connected anchor what you need to do is pass the position of the other body. So right now we have the position in our grapple point here, this grapple point here, we got the position of this block here, like hit dot transform dot position. And another thing that I'm going to do is that grappling hook dot auto configure connected anchor, we need to disable this, we need to false it because we don't want it to connect it automatically. The next thing that we need to do is that we need to whenever we are connecting to this object here, we need to move toward it. So for that, how we can do is that we can create some sort of distance. So if you can create it with using MathF, you can create it, but there's a shorter way of doing that, and the shorter way is you can use a float. name it as a distance, sorry, small I, distance between, and I'm going to in this I'm going to use a vector not 3 dot distance, and in this distance you need to add two values, the starting value and the ending value. The starting value will be the transform dot position, and the last value is the grapple point. As you all know that grapple point is the last position. Now we got this. What we need to do is that we need to put this value in the spring joint that is created from here. So I'm going to say that grappling hook was basically the name of the spring joint. Dot distance is equal to distance. Why I'm using time dot del time? Because I am making this thing frame rate independent, and we are going to use a grappling hook to dot damp ratio, because we need to damp it somehow. Like damping ratio is used like you can say that to damp some sort of force, and you can I'm just writing a salmon f. You can change it to some your own value so that it can look much cooler. So this was basically a spring joint function that we have done. In the stop grapple, what you need to do, you need to simply disable this, or you can simply copy this from here and you can paste it over here. Now let's go back and see what happens. First of all, I'm going to rigid body is added here. Let's see if this thing connects or not. What is wrong here? I think start grapple. Let's see. We haven't the wide awake. What is wrong here? I guess these all works fine as we need them to, but yeah, the thing is that we haven't attached a script to any thing over here. So I'm going to attach my grappling hooks. That is a major error that I've done. I'm going to attach my player to this the script to this player here, and now you can see that we got the spring here, but this is disabled. So another thing that we need to do is we have created this hook from here. The player got the rigid body, and yeah, so we need to add the player here. And for the line creator, I'm going to add this LineRenderer to this line creator as well. So now I guess, yeah, so you can see that now we are working. Yeah, so this is how you attach. Yeah, you can see that now it's working, but the thing is that there is no line attached to it. Like we need to attach some sort of line, create some sort of line. So for that, what I'm going to do is that void draw, and in the draw I'm going to draw basically a line here. So for in this I'm going to say that if grappling hook 2 dot is active and enabled, then we are going to draw a certain line. Without if it is disabled, we don't need to draw a line here. So I guess, yeah, so in this I'm going to say that another if, and in this if I'm going to say that line creator dot position count is greater than 0, and I guess we need to add the line position count here, because what is the position count is basically like if we have created a line with multiple points in it. Like there's a line I have created, let me tell you how I can say that. I've created this line here and I'm adding this plus here. Now mouse position, this plus, where is the line? Okay, from I don't know why it's not creating, but the thing what I'm telling you is that if we create a line and if it has 10 points, then we are going to add the position count as 10 here. So right now there are only 2 points, the start point and the end point, so we are going to say that its position counted 2. And when we need to disable that line, we are going to simply set that value to 0, like line creator dot position count is equal to 0. So it's going to disable the line. And in here what we need to do is that line creator dot set position, not colored, why I'm writing the colored, set position, Now for the 0 is basically the starting index. 0 index is the starting index. In the 0 index I'm going to be writing the transform.position. It's basically the this body itself, and now the ending position should be at here, at this thing here. So for that I'm going to writing line creator dot set position, and in this the one is basically the other next point, next index, and in this I'm going to say that camera dot main dot screen to world point, and in this we are going to write input dot mouse position. So basically we need to create a line that is following our mouse position like it, and we need to call this draw somewhere. So we cannot call it over here because it will create as along the hook, and it will be like creating earlier than the hook. So I'm going to call it in the late update function, late update, and in this I am going to call this draw. So let's move on to the code here. Let's see what is happening and what have we done so far. You can see that now we got some sort of line, and the line doesn't draw whenever when we click outside this here, and yeah, so it's working fine. So I'm going to duplicate this block to 2 so that now these 2 blocks have hooks, have a tag of hook attached to them. Like you see that hook is here and hook is here as well. So I'm going to demonstrate you that the joint works for both of them. You can see that you can simply make a game out of it. Yeah, so it's looking kind of pretty. So basically guys, this was it. This was the spring joint, and before moving on, let me tell you how you can change the color of this. You're going to simply go into the LineRenderer here, and there will be a material here. Go to set it to default line, and just set the color to not this color, and yeah, this one. Set the color to something like black here, and now unpause it, and now you have a grayish line. We don't want the grayish line, so I'm going to change it to I'm going to change the color as well from this black here. So now we have a pure black line. So yeah, so guys, this was it. This was basically the tutorial how you can create a spring joint 2D, how you can create a grappling hook, and how you can create, I'm going to just copy the component here and paste component values. Now you can see that this spring joint is working quite fine, and you can you can add this kind of effect in some games like like you are making a 2D version of Spider-Man. You can attach this script to it. I will also be attaching the script to the YouTube section in the comment section here. I will be attaching the script, and I will be pasting the link of this script. So follow me on Instagram, Twitter, I don't know, wherever. I will be pasting down the links down below. So this was the tutorial, and this was the easiest tutorial anyone can give you, because I have scrolled down through multiple videos and I haven't seen a tutorial like this one. I have to figure out how I have to do this. I have to create this kind of grappling hook. So guys, that's it. I'm out.